What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, happy, Wednesday? Are we at Wednesday already? Jeez, this week is blowing by, and women's college basketball is almost here. But before that, we do have some more WNBA stuff to talk about. So we're going to get into it. Anyway, Quita in the morning, guys, starts now.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Ready, set, go.
All right, get ready. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, y'all are having a fantastic day. Yes, absolutely. Prayers goes out to everybody affected by Hurricane Melissa. I really hope that everyone is okay with that. Hurricanes, man. I can't imagine living in an area that has hurricanes. Like it's just wild how water can destroy a lot of stuff. Absolutely wild. All right, but anyway, good morning, folks. Hopefully y'all are having a fantastic start to your day. Guys, the topic of today's conversation is the saga continues. I thought we were about to easily move over to women's college basketball and that the WNBA would not be a thing for a while. But it continues to be a thing. And I continue to have to report on it because it's big news. And once again, it involves the CBA. The WNBA and its Players Association are officially at a time. That October 31st deadline that everyone has been talking about, it's basically toast. WNBPA lawyer Erin Drake flat out admitted that this week. She's like, hey, we have worked hard to be able to say on a Friday we did it. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Erin also said, I believe in miracles. I'm not hopeful agreeing to a deal on Friday is going to come to fruition. Translation, sure, miracles can happen, but the new CBA for the WNBA is not one of them. And the league's entire offseason, as a result, is now basically dangling over a cliff. And finger pointing, it's already started. It's been started, the finger pointing. So let's actually talk about what this fight is all about. What in the world is going on? Well, it's about what the players want and what the league wants. This showdown basically boils down to one thing: money. And who controls the money made from growth. Players want a true revenue sharing system directly tied to league success. They want an increase in salary. Now, the league agrees that an increase in salary is going to happen. So that's one thing they agree on. Both sides agree that players should get more money. But the league wants to keep more of a fixed cap salary system. A system that's similar to the current CBA. A system that has the money go up incrementally. And a system where there is a small segment of uncapped revenue sharing if only certain targets are hit. And by those certain targets, those are league-specific targets, not team revenue. And so the league is like, hey, sure, we're gonna raise your salary. We want to keep more of a fixed salary cap system. But sure, we will have a small amount of uncapped revenue sharing, but only on league revenue, not on team revenue. And very narrowly focused. And so the players, to them, that's not true revenue sharing. That's a piece of the pie. And we heard from Napheesa Collier, who talked to Glamour and basically put the league on blast. Again, Napheesa said, we are so grossly almost taken, we are being so grossly almost taken advantage of, and it should be illegal. She says the amount of money that Caitlin Clark has made the league is insane, and she's getting 0% of it because we have no rev share. She gets less than $80,000 a year, and she's bringing in like hundreds of millions of dollars. It's insane. Now, I gotta say, Napheesa Collier continues to name drop Caitlin Clark because it's strategic. Because Napheesa and everybody in this entire world basically knows that Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest figures in American sports, male or female. She is an economic force in and of herself, and she has made undeniable impact to the WNBA bottom line. And so the reason for continuing to say Caitlin Clark's name is because Napheesa knows that it's a very obvious argument for Caitlin, right? It's very obvious what she has done to the league, and how she has helped to bring in a whole bunch of money. So this whole name dropping thing is very. Here's the thing: these players, the people who work in the WNBPA, they smart. You know, they know what's going on. They know who to name drop to sort of get a specific thing in your head, to get the players ultimately what they want. So they're using the argument of Caitlin because that makes a lot of sense. But it's done in a way to make sure that basically no one has an argument against it, and that the players get what they want, which is to be compensated for the work that they do in the league and how the league has grown, right? They want to be compensated for that, which makes sense. And to be honest with you, makes sense to continue to name drop her name, because why wouldn't you? Like, duh. I would do the same exact thing if I was Napheesa Collier, right? Makes sense. So if you're wondering, why does she keep talking about Caitlin? It's for a reason, guys. It's for a reason that she is specifically calling her out. Okay? Anyway, so you may be wondering, okay, the players are upset at the league. The CBA deal probably isn't going to come into fruition by October the 31st, which is not. Who's delaying this? What's going on? Who's stalling in this whole situation? Who's stalling? Is it the players, the league, both, somebody else? You know, who's stalling? Well, the union is basically saying that, hey, the league has no urgency in this whole matter. The league is the union is ready to work, and the league is dragging their feet, supposedly. And the WNBA, well, they say that the league needs to basically spend less time, spouting stuff on social and more time moving the needle, right? The WNBA gave their latest proposal to the union on October the 1st. And that proposal reportedly included a supermax deal near $850,000 and a vet minimum of around $300,000. Now, that's a high jump right now, because right now the supermax is, in that sort of like 300K mark right now. That's the supermax in the WNBA right now, is around the 300K mark. And the league is proposing, hey, we will bump that supermax all the way up to 850. 850,000 per year for supermax. And vet minimum, if you can make it on a roster and you're on that vet minimum contract, you're going to be making what was last year a WNBA supermax at 300K. Now, that's a gigantic jump. Gigantic jump. Of course, the proposal included more than that, but that's the sort of the big headline thing is supermax 850,000, vet minimum 300K. Now, the league says they sent that over to the Players Association on October the 1st. And supposedly, they didn't hear back from the union until October the 27th. Guys, you get a new proposal on the 1st. You wait until the 27th to respond. Now, I gotta say, I don't think that looks good on the Players Association. If you are supposedly saying that the league doesn't have urgency, and that you are ready to make a deal and yada, 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 and you take 26 days to get back to the league, I don't know. Personally, I think that's a little odd. I gotta say, to be fair, to be fully fair, feels odd to me. Right? Feels odd to wait that long. Now, I'm not sure if it's because you have a lot of players who are all over the country, all over the world right now, and it takes time to get to hear from players, right? Sometimes it may take a couple days to hear from what all the players think about certain stuff because, people are in different time zones. Some people are in Europe. Some people are in Asia, right? People are everywhere. And so maybe that's a thing. But to not really respond in writing for 26 days is odd, maybe. Odd. I mean, you gotta let me know what you all think about that. Here's the thing. Now, Tanisha, you're right. Tanisha says they may not have responded in writing, but they did respond. Well, yes, they did respond in quotes and all that stuff that they've done. Absolutely, they did respond in that way. Also, it was just reported yesterday from Front Office Sports that the league reached out to the Players Association about a 30-day extension. Now, for the last CBA negotiation, that had to get an extension. And that was on a 60-day extension. This time they're proposing a 30-day extension to the current CBA. Now, according to Front Office Sports, they have connections with a source with direct knowledge on the player's stance. And that under the right circumstances, the players might be willing to consider an extension, but quote, those circumstances do not yet exist. This is the reason for the title of this stream. Here's the deal. The WNBA has proposed a extension, but the players might not agree to it. They might not agree to it. And that puts the WNBA in a very difficult position. Because again, quote, those circumstances do not exist yet for players to be willing to consider an extension. Now we'll see if we get another update, but that was what I ended up reading yesterday from Front Office Sports. So yeah, there's people dragging their feet, and there's some spinning of the truth. Either way, there's no deal happening on Friday. No deal. So, Friday is Halloween, the 31st. It's the same day when the current CBA expires. So what happens? What happens on a Saturday morning? What happens? What happens in the WNBA? Well, there's basically three possible outcomes, right? Three possible outcomes. And nothing is super catastrophic because remember, guys, the season is over for 2025. There is no games missed, no playoffs missed, no nothing. But while it's not catastrophic, it is it's not a good place to be. The reason why is because we got three possible outcomes that, are of varying degrees of difficulty. Now, the first one, probably the best situation, is to agree to the 30-day extension. Both sides agreed and they say, yes, we're going to continue under the current CBA for an additional 30 days. So instead of it being over on the 31st of October, it will be over at the end of November, right? So you have a little bit more time to make an agreement. It allows for a little bit of calm to kind of be around, right? It's a lot more calmer to have an extension, so you know kind of what you're working with for at least another 30 days. Also, it does allow the WNBA to continue to move forward with an expansion draft, with the draft lottery. There's a lot of things that the WNBA needs to work through right now, and an extension would allow them a chance to do that. Now, the second option is if the Players Association does not agree to an extension, the second option is to just kind of continue under the status quo without a agreement. Now, with this, players can still access facilities. Things will sort of continue as business as usual. But if tensions rise between both sides, a work stoppage is right around the corner. You can't operate without a CBA. But if either side kind of gets pissed off at the other, tensions rise, we're moving on to the third option, which is a full work stoppage. A work stoppage can be initiated by the players. Maybe the players want to have a strike. Or maybe the owners lock out players. This would be catastrophic. Not catastrophic, but this would be as bad as it can get before actual games being lost. Because this means that the off-season business of the WNBA, it means that freezes. Dunzo. Right? It means free agency, the draft lottery, I should say, expansion, done. It means you are in limbo land for sure. And so that could be an absolute disaster. Because here's the thing, a lot of stuff is happening soon. A lot of stuff. The expansion draft is likely supposed to happen in December of 2025. The expansion draft for the new teams, the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. That's supposed to start in December. It's supposed to happen in December. The WNBA draft lottery for 2026. Last year, I believe that happened in November, right? It could either happen in November or December, but it has to happen before the expansion draft so you know what you're working with. And so that would be put on hold. So we won't know who would have the number one pick in the 2026 WNBA draft. The schedule for 2026. That normally gets released in a couple months, right? December, January. That's kind of the timeline of when we might end up seeing a schedule. That would end up getting pushed back. Qualifying offers and free agency talks. That stuff is in January and February. Depending on how this stuff goes, that might not happen or be severely delayed. There's a lot of stuff that is basically held in the balance right now, right? A lot of stuff. And at this point, we just kind of have to wait and see. And also, another thing to note that I ended up reading yesterday that I was like, whoa, I didn't realize this was a thing. But if talks go nuclear and nothing, and we reach sort of the point of no return, well, players could make the decision to actually vote to dissolve the Players Association. And they can take the league to court under and file antitrust lawsuits against the league and its owners. Yeah. The NBA did this a while back in 2011 with the NBA Players Association. And so, yeah. We could end up seeing that. We could end up seeing some antitrust lawsuits if the players vote to dissolve the union. All right, so that's the thing. And if they vote to do that, how that works with the government shutdown and all that stuff and the delays and all that stuff, like, I don't know. That could be very, very interesting. That could be very, very interesting. If they do file an antitrust lawsuit or lawsuits, then someone from the government will come in and try to be a mediator between the WNBA and its players. So, yeah. Interesting. I do want to hear what you all have to say about your thoughts so far. So let me hear your thoughts. Also, let me just hold on. Let me go off screen real quick. Princess is barking, and I need to let her out of my room. I tell you, man, these dogs. Princess is deaf, and so if I leave out my room, and she thinks I'm gone for too long, she thinks I'm still here. And so she just barks until somebody comes to get her. And so, yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's hear what you all have to say. Kevin says it feels like it may come to that, especially with adding the Connecticut Sun sale or lack thereof in terms of an antitrust lawsuit. Yeah, possible. It's absolutely possible. Yeah. Absolutely. Waterfall says, Quita, the players have to apply pressure to the owners. It's not for the weak. That's for sure. Negotiations like this, where it's basically like either side trying to call chicken on the other side. Like it's a tough one, man. It's a tough battle. It is a tough battle. Tough, tough battle. Candace says the players should stand firm. They have the power. There are more players who back Fee than not. Well, that's yes. Basically, here's the thing. At this point, we have not heard not one current WNBA player publicly disagree with Napheesa Collier. Not one. So, Candace, the way it's looking, I think basically every single player is in agreement with the players kind of playing hardball. That's what it seems like. I mean, I have not seen anybody that has spoke against it. Amelia says, I hope they're able to come to an agreement. These women deserve it. Facts, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's a tough moment. It's a tough moment for the WNBA. And we all know that about the stuff that has been said in the past by Cathy Engelbert, by Adam Silver, who said, quote, share isn't the right way to look at it when talking about rev sharing, and basically saying that, hey, rev sharing does not really matter. But the truth is the NBA owns 42% of the WNBA. Cathy reports Adam Silver. So he's really in charge, and, that makes sense in terms of like whose priorities are really being protected. So while the WNBA does say that they have a uncapped revenue sort of plan for players, clearly, according to the players and the Players Association, that's not enough. And so, yeah, I've talked about some of the options of what could happen, right? We could see the union completely dissolve, and we could see the players file an antitrust lawsuit. We could see a lockout happen. We can see a strike happen. We could see a situation where, they agree to a 30-day extension to the CBA. Or they agree to no extension and they operate under the status quo, hoping that no one has tensions rise too high to where a work stoppage actually happens. Lots of things sort of on the table, lots of options of what could possibly happen. And so here's the thing. Ultimately, here's what it comes down to. It comes down to growth and shared success. In the players' mind, they help to build this momentum. They help to fill these arenas. They help to make this league more money than it's ever made in its history. And now they want a cut of what they created. Here's the deal. There's a lot of public opinion stuff that's happening. But in a lot of ways, both sides need to just come together and make decisions that are critical to not just the way the current players operate, but will allow for future success of the WNBA. This offseason, in a lot of ways, will help to decide whether or not the WNBA becomes a global powerhouse or whether it slams its brakes just as the rocket is taking off. Because here's the thing. Let's be real. The league cannot brag about growth, then tell the very players who caused that growth to stay in line and accept what we give you. You just have a hard time doing that. Like it's tough to do that. To brag for months and months and months. Over a year and a half of bragging, plus that, of bragging about how the WNBA has grown, how league attendance has grown, revenue has grown, a media rights deal that was basically unheard of numbers a couple years ago. Like, you can't continue to say all that stuff and then continue to say to the players, hey, stay in line. It's hard to do it. It's hard to do it, guys. So my question to you all, is a lockout coming? Will we see an antitrust lawsuit? What do you anticipate happening in the next couple of days? What happens on November the 1st? What happens? Now, I do want to hear you all's thoughts on this matter, and I'm gonna do a quick poll for you all. A what happens next poll. All right. Because yeah, I just like in all the I'm just very much of a mindset of, hey, I get why the players are doing what they're doing. I get why the league is doing what they're doing. And ultimately it should be more of a 60-40 type of deal where like the players are getting close to 60% of what they want. Because this is a moment where women's sports, guys, it's about to blast off. The WNBA needs to get an agreement locked in so that way when all these other leagues are starting up, when all these other leagues are doing their thing, that WNBA players stay with the WNBA. Right? So yes, it's about an agreement. It's about making sure that players are relatively happy. But also, it's about planning for the future because the WNBA will not be the only thing out there. You got Project B, you got Unrivaled, you got EuroLeague or Eurobasket, I should say. You got other stuff happening. And the WNBA, there's only so much hardball that you can't play because you will not be the most dominant player in the space of women's basketball if you don't handle this right. So no, the players shouldn't get everything they want, but at the same time, I think the league has to be careful. They have to be careful, okay? So what do you think is happening next? Do you think a work stoppage is happening? Do you think that there's going to be an antitrust lawsuit? Do you think the league is able to operate on a sort of status quo type of thing? Yeah, let me know what you all think. Or do you think no one knows? I'm curious to hear what you all have to say. The poll is live, so let me know. Saba says, Natasha Cloud said the league is pushing for an 8-year CBA, so that fixed salary will be undervalued very soon. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a fixed salary with like incremental increases every year, but like a fixed incremental increases. Tracy says you should have a dog food sponsor. I should. Because these dogs are expensive, man. I tell you that. Dogs are expensive. So yes, if there's a dog food company that wants to use Princess and Mr. President as your models, and they could be a sponsor of it, hey, sponsor us. Okay, sponsor our dog food. Sponsor our dog food, yes, please. Okay. Amelia says the NBA is already under fire with the FBI. Yeah. Y'all see all the gambling and sports betting stuff that's going on? Again, that's only the tip of the iceberg, guys. I tell you that. It's only the tip of the iceberg because gambling, sports betting, and all that stuff, it will lead to the demise of sports. It will lead to the demise of American sports. I just got to say that. Random hot take from me. Gambling and sports betting will lead to the demise of the beautiful game that we know. Because there's a lot of people with underhanded stuff happening. And Pablo Torre is going to find out. And he going to let us know. All right? It is absolutely crazy. And I guarantee you, I don't think it's just the men that's doing stuff. I'm just saying. At some point, this may end up being a scandal in the WNBA too. I'm just saying. At some point. At some point. Kentucky Rick says they will extend if for no other reason than nobody is talking WNBA right now. The sports conversation is hot, but the WNBA isn't in the discussion right now. Well, facts. Linda says, does the WNBA provide player housing? What happens during the offseason or in a lockout? Yes, the WNBA, individual teams provide housing for players. Does that housing exist during the off season? I actually don't know. I think so. I'm pretty sure it does, but I don't totally know how that affects stuff because if players are getting locked out, then I would imagine if players are living in team housing, then that would be removed. I would imagine, but I don't know that for sure. That's pure speculation on that front. Tisha says, I would not be surprised if there's some shady business in WNBA sports betting as well. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I would not be surprised. But it seems like Pablo is very focused on the NBA right now. And I mean, he's done some WNBA coverage, but like not like where he's like finding out a whole bunch of stuff. And so I want to know, man. I want to know. Okay. All teams provide housing. That's 100% fact. But do players live in that housing during the off season? I think that's a question mark because a lot of players are usually overseas or they're in a different state than where they play at. And so I think that's the thing that I'm not sure about. Whether or not they live in that housing during the off season. Henry says the WNBA has always had great players, but much less watched and attended before Caitlin Clark. I've been there, so has Quita. Yeah. I mean, we can go down a line of amazing WNBA players that has existed in the past, right? Cheryl Ford, Deanna Nolan, right? Katie Douglas. We can go down a line of players that were like, in my opinion, really, really awesome. And whatnot. But yes, it was much less players, much less fans who watched than now. And so, yeah. El Kune says, the FBI is a joke right now. Nothing is going to happen about the gambling. Well, here's the thing about gambling. It's too much money to be made for everybody to be fair about the entire thing. Right? It's too much money to be made for you to see certain reporting by certain news stations that have gambling arms to their news organization. It's too much money to be had when from the NBA and NFL and whatnot when the leagues themselves are also cashing in on just the amount of bets that are made, right? Through sponsorship deals, through all that stuff. Like, there's too much money to be made for like everything to actually be on the up and up. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Okay? It's just not. Balua says, what happens if the lockout happens? How would that will that affect the expansion teams next season? Possibly, depending on how long it is. Like, for example, right now the expansion drafts is likely going to be in December. If by the time they like mid-December, if there's an agreement, if there's a deal done, then I think it should be relatively fine. If by mid-December there's something. Because you'll be in time. Now the draft lottery will have to be really quick, so you can have that. But I think if we pass December with no agreement, yeah, I think that severely hurts the expansion teams. Severely hurts them. And so we'll see what happens. Henry says, there will not be a strike. There will not be a lockout. Henry, it looks like 53% of the voters are disagreeing with you. 53% says there will be a work stoppage of some kind. All right. And for some reason, I can't, it won't let me, display the poll. So I have to do a screen grab of the poll, and then I'll drop it in here so you all can see what you all voted for. All right. So 53% of y'all are saying work stoppage. 4% are saying that it may be an antitrust lawsuit. We got about 8% of y'all saying it's going to be the status quo. And we have about 34% saying no one knows, because ultimately none of us know. We don't know. We'll see what happens. I tell you that. I wish I was a fly on the wall in these conversations, though. I really wish. I need to get I need to get myself some sources. Okay. I need to get some sources so I can have an insider look at what's going on. So I don't have to just rely on all the articles that are being written about this situation. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Anyway, that's it. That's the show. Thank y'all so much for watching. If y'all could, please make sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel out a whole lot. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Tomorrow, we will be back to our regularly scheduled program of women's college basketball. But I felt like this topic was big enough where I feel like I had to just talk about it because, again, deadline is on Friday. Okay? So, yeah. We'll see what happens. Anyway. Thank y'all for watching. And until next time, bye-bye.
Are you ready?
Ready, set, go.